Nigel Farage has said Reform UK would end the right of migrants to apply for permanent residency and indefinite leave to remain ILR in the UK after 5 years, and force those who already have settled status to reapply for a new, stricter visa. The Reform UK leader wants to abolish indefinite leave to remain ILR, for which migrants can currently apply after 5 years, and force them to renew their visa every 5 years. Applicants would have to meet certain criteria, including a higher salary threshold and better standard of English. They would have to have lived in the UK for 7 years, up from 5, and there would be tighter restrictions on bringing spouses and children to the UK. The new visa would also prevent any access to benefits under the plans set out by the Reform's UK party. Reform says mass deportation would save £234 billion, as it warns Boris of migration will take a critical toll on the welfare system. Nigel Farage will pledge to eject hundreds of thousands of legal migrants in an unprecedented reversal of Britain's relaxed border rules. The Reform UK leader will unveil plans to force all migrants with permanent residency to reapply for visas under stricter criteria, including a higher salary requirement and a better standard of English. The party would also change the law to prevent foreign nationals from accessing the British welfare system. The party claims this would save £234 billion over the lifetime of the average migrant. Writing in the Telegraph below, Zia Yusuf, Reform's policy chief, said the changes would lead to hundreds of thousands of people having to apply and ultimately losing their settled status in the UK on a staggered basis to prevent disruption to businesses. Secondly, the UK explores a plan to drop visa fees for top global talent. The PM's team wants to make it easier to attract people who have attended top universities as the US moves in the opposite direction. New, easier British citizenship route for Irish citizens launched. A wave of changes to the immigration rules in the United Kingdom was rolled out on the 22nd of July 2025. One such change is a simplified pathway to British citizenship for Irish citizens residing in the UK. From the 22nd of July 2025, Irish citizens residing in the UK, including Northern Ireland, the Channel Islands, and the Isle of Man, can take advantage of a new, simplified pathway to British citizenship under the British Nationality Irish Citizens Act 2024. This update, rooted in our long-standing Common Travel Area and Good Friday Agreement, offers a faster, more affordable route without some of the usual hurdles. Keir Starmer is exploring proposals to abolish some visa fees for top global talent at a time when the US has moved sharply in the other direction. The British Prime Minister's Global Talent Task Force is working on ideas to lure to the UK the world's best scientists, academics, and digital experts, as it seeks to stimulate economic growth. One option being considered is abolishing visa charges for top-level professionals, according to people briefed on the discussions inside Number 10 and the Treasury. We're talking about the sort of people who have attended the world's top 5 universities or have won prestigious prizes, said one official. We're kicking around the idea of cutting costs to zero. The reforms were being discussed in Number 10 and the Treasury before the Trump administration announced last week it would increase to $100,000 the application fee for an H-1B visa, which is relied on by US tech groups. But one person involved in the UK discussions said that Trump's decision had put wind in the sails of those wanting to reform Britain's high-end visa system to boost growth ahead of the November 26th budget. The discussions are being driven by the Global Talent Task Force, chaired by Varun Chandra, Starmer's business advisor, and Lord Patrick Vallance, Science Minister. Government officials said the idea of cutting visa costs was not yet being actively discussed in the Home Office, which has a remit to cut net migration, but that immigration visa routes were kept under review. Another British official said the current global talent visa system was a bureaucratic nightmare, adding, "We are also looking at how we can help people navigate the visa process." The official added, "This isn't about diluting our determination to bring down net migration, but it's about getting the brightest and best into Britain. There is unity across the government on this." Meanwhile, government officials said that Chancellor Rachel Reeves was looking at the tax system ahead of her autumn budget to identify disincentives to attracting global talent. The Chancellor's recent reforms to the non-dom tax system have been blamed for some wealthy individuals leaving Britain, Although provisional tax data suggests the exodus was not as great as some had feared. Britain's Global Talent Visa, introduced in 2020, cost £766 to apply for, with partners and children paying the same fee. An annual health surcharge fee of £1,035 is usually applied to each person applying. The route has no ties to an employer and offers a fast-track route to settlement in the UK. The visa is aimed at eminent people in science, engineering, humanities, medicine, digital technology, or arts and culture. The Home Office said, "Successful applicants are leaders, or have the potential to be leaders in their field, as determined by an endorsing body." In the year ending June 2023, there was a 76% rise in the number of global talent visas granted, taking the total to 3,901. Reeves has tasked officials with coming up with pro-growth reforms aimed at easing regulatory barriers and bolstering inward investment, as she confronts the possibility of a sharp downgrade to the outlook by the Office for Budget Responsibility. The Chancellor is also reviewing inheritance tax changes affecting non-DOMs ahead of her budget, according to government officials. In its immigration white paper earlier this year, Labour committed to increasing the number of people arriving on our very high talent routes, with faster routes for people who could supercharge a growth in strategic industries. Applications for skilled worker visas have already fallen sharply as a result of changes raising the skills and salary requirements, as well as sharp increases in fees. Jamie Arrowsmith, Director of Universities UK International, said the main initiative the government has taken so far to lure US scientists establishing a £50 million global talent fund available to 12 UK institutions was relatively modest in scale. The government also needed to look at the costs of immigration for researchers and ensure they were globally competitive, he said, adding, "Ultimately, to attract global talent, we need to be able to offer funding and autonomy and make the transition as smooth as possible." A Home Office spokesperson said, "Our global talent routes attract and retain high-skilled talent, particularly in science, research and technology, to maintain the UK's status as a leading international hub for emerging talent and innovation." In other news, Lamy hints at a U-turn to allow Palestinian scholars to bring children to the UK. A group of students from Gaza with places at British universities are due to arrive in the UK within days. David Lammy has hinted that the UK government could U-turn to allow Palestinian scholars to bring their children to the UK. A group of 34 Palestinian students, including Chevening scholars with places at British universities, have been given permission to continue their studies in Britain. But nearly all have been told by the Foreign Office that they are not allowed to bring their children with them. More than 300 people gathered in Bournemouth and Glasgow earlier as a planned immigration protest took place. The march, organised by Bournemouth Patriots with a "Stop the Boats" message, followed a pre-agreed route along Mayrick Road to a designated location near Lansdowne,